G'day folks, this is a Villiers Mk12 2 that I just picked up the other day. It's fairly complete, missing the air cleaner. It's been dropped on the carburetor. It's opened that gap up there, so I'm going to take all that apart and find out what that's like. Apart from that, it's complete. Pretty rough. Tank's full of rust. Stop switch. Turns over pretty easy with the plug-in, so I'm going to find out why I'm losing compression. Well, I've got the old Villiers torn down a bit. The bore looks pretty reasonable. There's a tiny bit of tarnishing in there where it's had water come down the spark plug hole, but it's not bad. I'm going to try and get a ring set, new head gasket, and relap the valves in this one, and a carby kit. I tried my local mower shop and they had absolutely nothing on Villiers, so it might be a little bit trickier than my other projects, but it'll give me plenty of time to work on it. The inlet valve looks brand new, but the exhaust valve has a lot of crud built up underneath it. I think the seat's not much better, so that could do with a relap. If I can't get parts for it, I'll just chuck it back together as it is and run it. Can't be too bad. Okay, well I've been doing some cleaning and dismantling of the Villiers. Got all these components out and ready to be cleaned up spotless and reassembled. That's the coil and ignition gear, flywheel, and housing for flywheel, and the carburetor. Clean that up, although the bottom housing is a bit banged up. Head and exhaust equipment. That's the bottom of the sump. It drops straight off just like a car sump. And this is the bottom end of the engine. It can't be too old because they're using plastic gears in it, but it's an old design. A little oil slinger. That there is the governor. These little counterweights fly out at certain speeds and press that across. The bottom end bearing on this one feels just fine, there's no real slop in it. I'm going to take the piston out and just check the rings. I might not even need to buy new rings, although it felt low on compression when I was turning it over, but then the valves aren't the best, so it could be a valve problem. The camshaft's back in there. The oil that was in the sump came out quite nice and clean. It wasn't really black and nasty. You could still dip your finger in it and see clean through it. It wasn't really bad. So I imagine this engine's been well cared for. The end bearings feel okay, although I might replace them anyway. Worst part's trying to get this bloody sprocket off. It's rusted on. Well, not sprocket, pulley. I think this came off a cement mixer or something. There's little gobs of cement on the bottom plate. But it's all there though. The other thing I'm going to do is lap these valves back in, relap them. Well, the condition of the rings on this engine is actually quite remarkable considering how old it is, but then it has been well cared for and there's no muck inside the crankcase. Tiny bit of stuff inside the drip tray, that's because I washed the whole thing out in the tub with the drain open. A lot of muck's gotten in there. I've cleaned the crankcase out and I've checked all the rings and things and it seems just fine. It should have really good compression. The only reason I can see for not having good compression when I tried it was that the exhaust valve has a lot of muck built up on the seat and the valves just aren't sealing properly. So I'm going to take the valves out and relap them and I'll whack it back together again and do a test run. And give the crankcase and everything a good clean up too. Okay, well I've just finished relapping the inlet valve using my little tool set here. And I just got onto the exhaust valve and pretty incredible amount of carbon that's built up in here. It must have been running rich its whole life. The amount of wear and tear on the engine indicates it probably hasn't done many hours, but it's just had a really hard life for the short amount of time it has been running. I mean, that's about 1.5 millimeters thick in some places. Likewise with the inlet tract, it's all reduced with carbon. And the muffler, well, once you get around that bend, you can hardly jam a piece of wire through it. It's just blocked. Not healthy. So it probably needs a good tune-up afterwards. I'd say the carby's running way too rich, or they've been running it on full choke the whole time. I'm going to lap this exhaust valve in. It definitely needs it. And I'll look at getting it back together again. Well, that is some of the crap that's just come out of the exhaust tract. I've just been scraping it out. It's built up so thick. That is not nice. The muffler's not going to be much better. I think this old engine's going to breathe a lot easier now. I gave it a quick rub down with the Dremel. Took a lot of burrs and other crap off the casting as well. Next step would probably be to polish it. Don't know if anyone's really bothered porting and polishing one of these, but might be worth it. At least removing the carbon from the exhaust port's going to help it a lot. I'm going to clean the muffler up and just lap this valve back in, and that'll be it. And the seat's not too bad, but it always pays to relap the valves. Well, if there was supposed to be an element or something inside this muffler, it ain't there anymore. It's just muck. Looks like there's supposed to be a tube or something connected up to there, but it's long gone. Oh well, it's enough of a muffler to suit me anyway. I'm not really fussed about noise levels. Well folks, I'm very impressed with the amount of compression this old engine has. The first compression ring had collapsed, or not collapsed but seized into the piston, but as soon as I freed it up she sprung out to proper diameter. Now that it's free I have very high compression. I've just given it a light coat of paint. I've got high temperature silicon and ceramic black on the cylinder and a nice green on the engine casing. Took a 4-inch grinder to get the old pulley off, but I've got other pulleys to fit to it. That's the old one. Good spark. Ignition's on timing. Just right. There's a tiny little arrow on these ones. Right, about I think there. You line it up with keyway at top dead centre, and there's a little arrow embossed into the pulley about there, and that's ignition on top dead centre, and you can adjust it accordingly.